The next slide details the reasons why the author of 1 John wrote the letter. We can tell those to a great extent by simply reading the text of the letter and, of course, comparing it to the Gospel of John. Here are the concerns of the author of the first letter of John. Clearly, as we've said before, there was a difference in opinion about what the nature of Jesus was. Did he come as a human? Did he come as a spirit? And of course, the people who are in this community and the perspective of the author is that Jesus was an actual human being that was somehow both divine and human, but had divine origins. This author wants to make sure that everybody understands that understanding of Jesus' nature, wants to make sure that everybody realizes what the actual official teaching of the church is. They inherited the actual teaching of that church from generations of people prior to them who had been part of the community that revered John the disciple. One of the ways he determines whether or not people have got this view of the nature of Christ, that he came in the flesh, is by insisting that people have this correct view of Jesus's neighbor. And he talks about that in terms of truth versus error. Of course, for him, the truth is that Jesus came in the form of human. It was an actual human being. And the error is that he was not. Secondly, as far as his concerns, if you want to discern truth from error, then you look at the prophecies that people in churches made. Making prophecy is not something that most people do in churches these days, although there are plenty of them that still do around the world. John's church experienced prophecy by either leaders or people part of the congregation. And John says, you want to know if what they're saying is right? Pay attention to whether or not the prophecies they make come true. The author also says that the time that they are in is the last hour. There is a great expectation that Jesus is going to return from heaven. And this is how we know that that's the case. Two reasons. He says that the antichrists have come. Now, that doesn't mean that they came from somewhere else. In fact, they came from in the church and left the church. That's exactly what John says in the book of 1 John. Since that is the case, and since it is the last hour, and since they expect Jesus to come back very soon from heaven, they are to resist the temptation to doubt or to waver on this church's position as to whether or not Jesus was an actual human being. In other words, the author is saying you need to hold on to this concept of Jesus until he returns from heaven.